You may think you know The Office, but what if I told you that one of the most emotional moments was almost canceled, that an ordinary farm became a real tourist destination, and that one secret about Jim and Pam still lives on in real life today? Stay until the end, because the final reveal is so shocking, even the cast had trouble believing it. Jim and Pam's proposal is one of the most iconic TV moments ever, but it almost didn't happen. NBC executives looked at the budget and thought a gas station proposal was way too expensive. Why build an entire fake rest stop when Jim could just propose in the break room or a restaurant? Producers pushed back hard, arguing this was the emotional centerpiece of the show. In the end, they constructed an entire rest stop set, complete with pumps, a convenience store, and a massive parking lot. That 2-minute scene cost more than most full episodes, but imagine The Office without that perfect rainy proposal. Instead of an unforgettable moment, we could have had a cheap scene next to Kevin's spilled chili. Fans now agree it was worth every penny. That ring Jim gave Pam, it wasn't just another prop. The production team expected it would disappear into storage like everything else, but Jenna Fischer held onto it. To this day, Pam's engagement ring sits in her real jewelry box at home. In interviews, Jenna has admitted that when she sees it, she's instantly pulled back to filming the show. For her, it represents more than Pam's love story. It symbolizes years of laughter, friendship, and emotional connection. Fans went crazy when she revealed this because it blurred the line between fiction and reality. Suddenly, Jim and Pam's love story didn't just exist on screen. It lived on, quietly, in Jenna's real life. Not every iconic moment was carefully planned. Dwight Schrute's Beet Farm is another perfect example of how a small detail exploded into something bigger. It started as a throwaway gag, but fans became obsessed. Producers filmed the exterior at a real farm in California, and the joke grew into a running storyline. NBC even leaned into it, creating a fake TripAdvisor page for Schrute Farms. Fans left real reviews like 5 stars, excellent beets, terrifying host. Some even tried to book a stay. A fake farm from a sitcom had become a genuine tourist destination. That's how powerful The Office was. It turned a bizarre character quirk into a cultural phenomenon. NBC loved Dwight so much they actually filmed a pilot for a spin-off called The Farm. It focused on Dwight's life outside the office, introducing his eccentric family and expanding his world. But the network never released it as a show. Instead, parts of the pilot were cut up and inserted into season 9. Still, the fact that NBC considered Dwight strong enough to carry his own show says a lot. Imagine a universe where Dwight became the star of primetime television for years. Would it have worked? Or would it have been too much chaos to handle? Fans still debate it. Here's a casting twist. Rainn Wilson, the man who played Dwight, originally auditioned to play Michael Scott. Just picture that. Rainn as the awkward, clueless boss of Dunder Mifflin. Meetings filled with beat metaphors, insane pep talks, and wild power trips. In the end, the producers got it right. Steve Carell brought warmth and humanity to Michael, while Rainn created one of the strangest, funniest characters in sitcom history. And then there's the messy relationship between Kelly Kapoor and Ryan Howard. On screen, it was one of the most toxic, hilarious romances ever. But off screen, the drama was just as real. Mindy Kaling and BJ Novak weren't just actors. They were writers, producers, and on and off romantic partners in real life. That means many of the fights, awkward silences, and over-the-top makeups were based on their own history. When Kelly and Ryan yelled at each other on screen, they sometimes literally wrote those lines for each other. Fans didn't just watch comedy, they watched reality slip into the script. Even the iconic opening credits have a secret. Those Scranton shots weren't filmed by a professional crew. John Krasinski borrowed a camera, drove to Scranton before the show started airing, and filmed the city himself. The producers loved the footage and used it for the intro. That means Jim Halpert himself is the reason Scranton feels so authentic every time that theme song starts playing. The desks in the office weren't filled by prop designers. The actors decorated them with their own belongings. Pam's family photos? Real. Angela's cat figurines? Real. Dwight's bobbleheads? All his. Even the messy stacks of paper belonged to the cast. That's why the office always felt so lived in. It wasn't just a set. It was their home for nearly a decade. And those computers, they weren't props either. They had working internet. During long takes, the actors had to stay in character while quietly entertaining themselves. Phyllis would browse for clothes, Stanley did crossword puzzles, and Creed, well, let's just say nobody was brave enough to ask what Creed was doing online. That's why the background always felt so authentic. The cast was genuinely busy while the cameras rolled. Speaking of Creed, here's the wildest truth of all. Many of his lines weren't scripted. The writers often told him to just say something Creed would say. And because the actor Creed Bratton had lived a wild life as a musician in the 70s, many of his stories were actually real. Fans weren't laughing at a fictional character. They were laughing at Creed being Creed. His bizarre, unpredictable personality was so unique that the writers just let him run with it. Not all ideas were winners. At one point, the writers considered writing Jim and Pam out of the show. They even filmed some material exploring what life would be like if the couple moved away. Imagine The Office without Jim's sly looks to the camera or Pam's knowing smiles. The entire heart of the show would have disappeared. Thankfully, they scrapped the idea. Fans never forgave other shows for losing their core couples. Then there's the legendary fire drill cold open. Dwight lights a fake fire, chaos explodes, Angela throws her cat into the ceiling. It's one of the funniest scenes in TV history, but behind the scenes it felt dangerous. The chaos was so intense that some cast members admitted they genuinely felt unsafe. NBC executives even questioned whether the scene went too far, but fans loved it. Today, it's still ranked as the best cold open of all time. Jim's messy haircut might seem like a small detail, but it became a major sticking point. John Krasinski had to keep that exact hairstyle for years, even when he was working on movies. At one point, he begged to change it for a role, but producers refused. Jim's look was sacred. For fans, that shaggy hair became just as iconic as his smirks to the camera. Here's a deep cut. There's a lost episode of The Office. It was filmed, edited, and then shelved by NBC for being too controversial. Only small snippets have ever leaked online. The full episode remains locked away, making it one of the greatest mysteries in sitcom history. Fans still beg NBC to release it, but for now, it's just another secret hidden in the vault. Steve Carell nearly left The Office earlier than he did. Around season 5, contract negotiations became tense. At one point, it looked like Michael Scott might exit for good. Imagine if The Office had lost its star halfway through its run. Would it have survived? Some say yes, others say it would have collapsed. Luckily, Steve stayed a little longer, giving fans more time with the world's most awkward boss. Even Stanley's crossword obsession had roots in real life. Leslie David Baker, the actor, was constantly doing puzzles between takes. The writers noticed and decided to make it part of Stanley's character. That's why his crossword gags felt so natural. He wasn't acting, he was just being himself. The set was so realistic that NBC executives sometimes forgot it wasn't a real office. Visitors would walk in expecting to meet employees, only to realize it was all actors. That level of detail fooled even the people who worked at the network. Michael's farewell was one of the most emotional episodes in the series. But here's the secret. Much of it wasn't scripted. Steve Carell improvised his goodbye. Jenna Fisher later admitted her tears during Pam's farewell weren't acting. She wasn't saying goodbye to Michael Scott. She was saying goodbye to Steve. That raw, genuine emotion is why the scene hits so hard, even today. NBC wanted the Office universe to keep growing. Spin-offs centered on Andy, Creed, even corporate life were pitched. None of them ever happened. Maybe that's why The Office remains so beloved. It ended before it could get watered down. Even the very first prank had layers. Jim putting Dwight's stapler in Jell-O wasn't just funny, but it was a tribute to the original UK version of The Office. It was a subtle nod to the show's roots, connecting the two versions in a way only die-hard fans noticed. Paul Lieberstein, who played Toby, wasn't just acting, he was also the head writer. That means some of Toby's most awkward and painful lines, he literally wrote them for himself. That explains why Toby always felt so authentic, because the man writing the words was the one delivering them. Angela's obsession with cats wasn't an exaggeration. Many of her desk photos were of her actual pets. She based parts of her character on her real love for cats, which is why it always rang true. Kevin's chili disaster is one of the funniest moments in the show, but it wasn't staged with clever tricks. Brian Baumgartner actually dumped gallons of chili onto the carpet in one brutal take. The cleanup took hours. Cast and crew said the smell lingered for days. And finally, the finale. By the time the cast filmed their goodbyes, they knew it was really over. The tears you see on screen aren't scripted. They're real. What you watched wasn't just the end of Dunder Mifflin. It was a family saying farewell to each other and millions of fans. That's why it still hits so hard years later. So, which of these secrets shocked you the most? Dwight's beet farm, the fire drill chaos, or Michael's unscripted farewell? Let us know in the comments.
But don't go too far, because next on SitcomScope, we're diving into Friends, from the cast's secret contracts to a hidden pregnancy that almost broke the show, and even the shocking truth about the Central Perk set. These are the secrets that will change how you watch Friends forever. You won't want to miss it.
Smash that like button if you learned something new, and subscribe to Chucklebox for more sitcom secrets every week.